Welcome once again to the podcast, everyone. And Shanna, it's so good to have you here today. I know we've met before and talked off camera a little bit, but I'm so pleased and happy to have you here today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to be here too, Brad. So
Yeah.
I'm ready to jump in.
And this is awesome. And we've got a topic today, a subject matter. I know I talked about it in the introduction a little bit. For anyone listening today, undoubtedly, at some point in your life, you've had some form of adversity, whether it comes in the form of a bankruptcy, a foreclosure, a divorce in my case, or foreclosure or a job loss, all of them at the same time in my case. But we all deal with some form of adversity in our lives. And the question is not what happens when we have adversity, but how do we respond to it? And so, Shauna, I know you've been through a lot in your life, and you've overcome a lot and you've transformed that. You are in this incredible, we were talking, an ordained minister now, PhD, multiple books out that are published. How did you go from that low point to this high point where you are now?
Mm. That is how much time do we have?
Yeah, only 30 minutes. We'll get as much in as we can. Yeah.
That's a life journey question. I will tell you, one of my favorite quotes is from Abraham Lincoln. And he says, "I'm not concerned that you fall. Everyone falls. I'm concerned that you rise." Right? Because that's the difference. Everyone, just like you said, everyone faces adversity. It's part of the human condition. Everyone is going to face not just adversity, but some trauma in their life. And trauma can be anything from, childhood traumas. There's a lot of abuse that goes on. There's a lot of abuse that goes on in adulthood. There's abuse in relationships. There can be, like you mentioned, there can be financial traumas, and that's damaging to the spirit. There can be physical traumas, car wrecks. You talk about PTSD after a car wreck.
Right.
There can be all sorts of traumas. So we're all going to face it, everyone. And it's like, I came back to that Lincoln quote that says, okay, I'm not concerned that you fall. I'm concerned that you rise. So there's a thing about rising. It's like, how do you rise? That's how do you deal with the traumas in life? How do you do it? Personally, I have two tools that are my go-to, and this is what I tell everyone. These are my two tools: exercise and meditation.
So exercise, you mean like going to the gym or going out in nature and walk or something, or?
Yes, because here's the thing. So I'm a big girl. I mean, I carry some extra weight, which I've battled all my life. That's part of my battle too. But exercise in any form. I was talking with a functional doctor, friend of mine, and I asked her, I said, so, what exercise do you recommend? And she says, the one that you'll do.
Yeah, that's same as me. Yeah, the one that you like and that you'll do. Yeah.
Right. She says it doesn't matter what exercise it is, as long as you'll do it. So if it's horseback riding, if it's walking, if it's swimming, if it's dancing to the radio, whatever it is that you can do and you feel good, then start doing that. She says, I don't even care if you start 5 minutes, just 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day. Just start doing what you love. And that's what I tell people too. I'm not concerned that you're going to be svelte and slim, and I'm concerned that you move your body. So that's number one. That's that tool, because that when you start moving your body, you get endorphins, you get pain relief. I mean, we physically change our physicality just by moving. So I tell people that, you really do. And then when you do that, when you physically move, you battle depression, because depression is the head is just another part of the body. People always think, neck down effects. Well, guess what? There are neck up effects to exercise too. So when you physically move, you get all that blood flow and all those good chemicals going in your brain too. So when anybody's depressed, I tell them, turn on the radio, turn on your whatever device you have, turn on some music and move and take 5 minutes and see. And I said, and then afterwards, before you do it, rate yourself. How's my depression? After you do it, because I'm going to guarantee you what they're going to find is that if your depression is at a 5, it's going to be at a 3. It's going to be at a 2. It might be at a 0. That would be great, but get moving. So that's number 1.
Okay.
Number 2, my number 2 thing that I think is the most important for me that I tell people about is meditation. So I come from a family that I was raised in a very traditional Christian family.
Okay.
And I had someone give me some blowback and they said, well, meditation, that's a part of blah, blah. I said, okay, hold on a second. Wait. Okay. Prayer is talking to God. Okay, fine. Meditation is listening. It's kind of the flip side. So that's how I always explain it. Prayer is talking to God. Stop your yakking. Right? Meditation is where you listen. That's where you calm the mind, calm the body, and you get the chance to just center and just, and then you can hear little bits of inspiration. And so those are my 2 tools. And I started using both of them about 30 years ago. I'd survived some serious trauma in my childhood. I survived even more trauma in my young adult life. And I started exercise and meditation as my tools to help me during that time.
And so what, because I know a lot of people listening to this and say, okay, yeah, just exercise or meditation, but I'm not motivated to do that. What motivated you to do that and to stick with it?
So I'll tell you, the motivation literally was life or death.
Okay.
For me, the motivation to make changes was, it was an existential crisis. Do I want to live? Do I even want to continue? And that's awful. People.
That is, yeah.
Yeah, when people face trauma, repeated traumas or severe trauma, there is a thing called PTSD that develops, and post-traumatic stress disorder. And there's this whole disorder that can kind of like infiltrate. Well, I'm focused on post-traumatic growth. And the post-traumatic growth is just going back to Lincoln again. Okay, everybody falls, not everybody rises. It's literally a switch. You just make the choice and say, I'm going today to get up. It is, and you may not feel like it.
Right.
You have to go, I don't feel like it, but I know that the end point is that my depression's at a 5, it's going to be at a 3 or a 2 or a 1 or a 0. It's okay. I know this is going to be better. I'm going to trust that it's going to be better. I'm going to connect with my own divinity, my own people, my own spirit. It's going to be better. I just have to say, I know it will. I'm going to get up. I'm going to rise. And that's how it started for me. It was literally, do I continue on in this existence or do I not?
Wow. So it really was a matter of life or death.
Oh,
so.
yeah. And I chose life. I chose, I'm going to stand. I'm going to get up. I'm going to stand up. So, yeah, and the thing is, not every trauma is life or death. Not every trauma is as deep. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how deep your trauma is. The fact is that all of us have traumas. All of us face things. So I'm not saying your trauma has to be this severe in order to do it. No, anything that you're facing, whatever trauma you have, it's real for you. So stand up, move, meditate.
And so with your past experiences and trauma, did you have or experience what they say is PTSD then?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been diagnosed with PTSD several times.
Okay.
Just because I've been through several traumas.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you this too. So after I'd gone through all sorts of traumas myself, then I became a mother. And I had a child who was born with a severe medical disorder. It still has. He's 27. They told me he wouldn't live. Ha ha. Guess again.
Yeah.
That took a lot of no, this is not going to define my child, and it's not going to define me. So I forgot where I was going with that, but but I'll tell you this. The words, a designation, PTSD, my son had an IgE disorder, I don't care. I don't care what a designatory word is. I don't care if somebody says, here's what you have. I don't care if they say, you have this disease. A disease does not define you. A disorder does not define you. A disability does not define you. You define yourself. And so when the doctors told me, your son's going to die, they flat out told me that. They told me in the hospital when he was 6 months old, you need to be prepared for him to die. Wow. And I said, no, I reject that. I'm not going to prepare. I'm going to be okay. I'm going to love him while I've got him. It doesn't matter how long that is. No, I'm not going to focus on his death. I'm going to focus on his life. So the words and the designation, I don't care what somebody comes back and says, I have this, I have this. I mean by I don't care that I care more that you stand out and that you say, these letters don't define me. PTSD doesn't define me. This diagnosis doesn't define me. This disorder doesn't define me. I define me. And my definition is I'm going to stand. I'm going to rise. I'm going to meditate. I'm going to exercise. I'm going to be good to me. I'm going to be good to the people around me. So there you go.
That is huge. You and I both have that aspect where you chose life and I chose health. Very, very similar. And what would you say to someone who is in the midst of a trauma, like a domestic violence situation? Let's just use that as an example right now.
Yeah.
Who is in the midst of trauma and trying to choose life or trying to rise? Like, what advice would you have for that person?
Yeah. It's hard when people are right in the midst of trauma.
Yeah.
It's really difficult because when you're in the midst of something, and Lord knows I've been in the midst of a lot of really difficult situations. It's hard sometimes, that phrase, you can't see the forest for the trees.
Yeah.
It's hard sometimes to get that perspective that can look beyond the moment, because the moment is crisis. And what we have to start teaching people is that crisis and these horrible things that are happening to you will end. They can end. Yes, they're bad, and we're going to love you through it, love yourself through it, but recognize that you can say, I'm going to step out on my own faith in myself, in my divine connection, if you have one, but in myself, in my community, in my people. I'm going to step out and recognize that this too will end. I'm going to see the forest. I'm going to look beyond just this tree, and I'm going to look to the forest, and I'm going to step up, and I'm going to say, I know that this will end, and I'm going to take the steps to make it end.
Yeah,
that's different for every person.
Right.
But it's tough. I mean, all of those situations have to be treated with so much compassion because trauma causes people to go inward and become tied to the pain. Going inward, not to be tied to the pain, but to be tied to the solution, to be tied to the divinity. For me, that's how I come to it, through a divine connection, but to be tied to the solution, not tied to the pain. So when I tell people, look beyond the pain to what's the solution, go inward, not to connect to the pain, but to connect to the power, and say, I'm going to connect to going beyond.
And that is the, I guess if I were to use the word solution to a traumatic situation or to PTSD, it's to focus on the solution, to tie yourself to the solution. You were obviously able to do that very clearly. I know it took me a long time. I wish I would have talked to you several years ago and understood this. I had to figure this out the long way. Would you say you're over PTSD now, or do you still have like side effects? I don't quite know how that works. Do you still have side effects from time to time?
I don't know. Here's the thing. I go back again to this. I don't care what a diagnosis is. If a doctor was to say, well, you still have PTSD. Okay. Well, guess what? I also have a lot of joy and happiness. That's more important. I think probably a lot of disorders like that, doctors, psychiatrists, psychologists will tell you that they go into remission, right. That you always have the possibility of that kind of re-energizing when there's another trauma. I think it's just a natural part of people's reaction to trauma to have post-traumatic stress disorder. It just happens. Stress happens, and
Yeah.
crappy stuff in life causes stress. So when there's PTSD, there's probably going to be more PTSD, but the balance is that you focus on the solution, and the solution is love yourself, be good to yourself. That means you're going to get up, move your body, and do a little prayer and meditation. And there you go. That's how I combated it. But I will tell you this, Brad, I'm 57. It's been a lifelong journey. It's not a, it's not, my son is 27 years old. I so I'd gone through all sorts of traumas in my childhood, in my 20s, and then I have this child who they're telling me he's going to die, and it was just his first 10 years were just really touch and go. They were really difficult. So it's not like I'm telling people, oh, all you have to do is one time and it's all good. You're done, just pray once, meditate once, exercise once, and it's over. This is a daily choice. That's the other part of it. It's a long game. It's not a, people want instant solutions. We want instant answers. There is no instant answer to trauma. The answer is today I choose life. Today I choose to be good to myself. Today I choose my meditation. Today I choose this exercise. Today, this is today. It's a daily choice to go beyond the trauma.
That's huge. What you're saying literally is one day at a time. And today I
Totally.
choose life. Today I choose love. And you've probably heard this before, and I've said this as a coach. When you put that first drop in your bucket, and that drop in your bucket is I choose love, I choose life. One drop isn't very much, but when you put one in day 2, day
Yep.
3, day 4, day 5, those
Yes.
drops add up, and that strengthens your, I'll call it your choose love muscle or your choose life muscle,
Love it.
which is exactly what you did then. And then over time, it just got
Yep.
stronger and stronger. And
Yes.
I'll call it the PTSD muscle got weaker and weaker.
I love it. That's a great way to look at it. The choose love muscle and the trauma and the trauma,
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
one is stronger. That's my
Yeah.
Schwarzenegger,
Yeah.
that's my Schwarzenegger muscle. It's the choose life, choose love. I tell people this when they're starting out a meditation practice, because I'll have people go, well, my mind, it just keeps going. It's like, yeah, of course it does. That's what your mind does. Well, I just can't. Oh, of course you can't. You've only been doing it for a day. Guess what? Do it tomorrow. Guess what? Do it again. And I teach people something I call the 5 by 5 by 5. And it's a meditation that is just, you breathe in 5 times, you hold it. I mean, you breathe in for 5 seconds, you hold it for 5 seconds, you breathe out for 5 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And you just do that a couple of times. That's the easiest first meditation that I can teach someone, that breath work. And I go, okay, look, think about how you feel before and think about how you feel after. And afterwards, you're going to go, oh, I do feel more calm. I feel more centered. I said, okay, there you go. You're meditating. There's your first one. Do it again tomorrow. Do it again. And then once you do that and you can calm yourself in any situation, you're in traffic. I don't recommend you close your eyes when you're in traffic, breathe, 5 by 5. But I do recommend that you take a deep breath in, hold it, and relax. And that can get you through even traffic difficulties where, you're honking and somebody cut you off. Well, you use those skills and you build on those skills, and you put that drop in the bucket, and then the next day you put another and you put another. And soon your bucket's filled and you've developed that muscle, that be love muscle. I choose love. I choose peace. I choose happiness. I choose to look beyond the crap that I was given. Somebody gave me that crap. That wasn't crap I made. Somebody gave me that. Well, it's still my crap to deal with, right? I didn't choose that. I didn't choose this awful stuff. It was given to me, but guess what? Now it's mine to deal with. And here's how I'm going to deal with it. I'm going to love it all up and love myself and just keep going.
Yeah, I often say the crap that we experience in our lives, sometimes that is, again, if you have a higher power, whatnot, that's the higher power kind of shaping you and molding you into the person that you're meant to be.
Yeah.
So to speak. I know you are, and correct me if I'm wrong, a licensed hypnotherapist. Is that it?
Well, I'm not licensed.
Okay.
I would call myself a hypnotist,
Okay,
not a
hypnotist.
hypnotherapist. In Oklahoma, there are you have to have certain licenses. So I do not have a license as a professional counselor. I do have
Okay.
a license as a spiritual counselor.
Okay,
It's a
spiritual
minister's
counselor.
license. Yeah.
Okay, spiritual counselor. I'm gonna go there. So if you're working
Sure.
with someone coming to you with a traumatic type situation, you kind of coach them through breathing and kind of just walk me through that real quick. How you would coach someone for anyone listening if they can be their own spiritual guide or counselor. I guess you
Yeah.
start with breathing and then kind of get them to focus on choosing love or something.
Absolutely. The things we talked about, literally, I tell people move, choose movement every day, morning and night, choose movement, even if it's just 5 minutes, even if it's just 3 minutes, because most songs on the radio are about 3 minutes. I
Mhm.
was a DJ. That was that was one of my first jobs out of college, spinning records, literally queuing them up and spinning records. Most songs are 3 minutes. So I tell people 3 minutes, you can do that for 3 minutes and do that in the morning and do that at night. Start there. And then I teach people that 5 by 5 by 5. Start there. Do those two things every day. Do those today. Do those tomorrow. Start there. Um, and it is literally just taking those baby steps. And then you can get to the point where once you start incorporating those positive things in your life that are healing for you, because healing is an inside job. When you start working on those, healing your own spirit, healing your own trauma, whether it's your own crap or crap somebody else gave you, whatever it is, it's yours to manage. When you start healing that, then you start adding on other tools. So if somebody's in the midst of trauma, it's a baby step. Start that baby step, and that starts with that self-love. 3 minutes, dance to the radio, get up and move your body, you know, focus on your mind, focus on the positivity. That's where I start. If somebody comes to me for hypnosis, that's a whole other that's a whole other series. I
Okay.
will tell you this: I know that stress, medical science shows that stress impacts every disorder, disease, disability in the human body. And stress is the bugaboo that I see in our society because, oh my gosh, when you look at society, you go, oh my gosh, this happened, this awful thing, and that awful thing. And if you focus on the awful, it causes stress. So I deal with hypnosis for people to help release stress, to go beyond. And that's dealing with the subconscious mind, because we've got a lot of patterning that comes from trauma. We've got a lot of patterning that comes from words that people have given us, poison that they've given us. We've
Yeah.
got a lot of deep patterning, and sometimes that has to be released. And that's what hypnosis helps people do: release the negativity into a more positive state.
Yeah. So if you're listening, Shanna, how can someone get in touch with you or reach you? Because you've obviously got a lot of the skills to be able to help someone in this situation and navigate them through it. So how can they reach you, or maybe even by telephone or something? Or
Yeah, one of the best ways for people to reach me is to go on to one of my websites. I've got several, but if somebody was interested, I mean, they can look me up at shaunawarner.com,
that's
but
where
they
I
can also
found you
go,
too. Yeah.
right, they can go to gethappyhypnosis.com. Because at Get Happy Hypnosis, there's just, that's a good way to reach me. I have an office in Tulsa. I also, hypnosis is something that can be done, counseling can be done through telehealth, it can be done via Zoom. You
Mhm.
know, I prefer to do hypnosis in person because I really like to make that personal connection. But I've worked with clients, all over the nation.
Mhm.
Um, so Get Happy Hypnosis. You'll find it's literally a smiley face. When you see that smiley face icon, you know you're at Get Happy Hypnosis. And that's a good way for people to reach me.
Okay, well, I will put a link to both of those websites in the podcast show notes. But you also have some books out, I know, real quick. Do,
Mhm.
do any of the books, I haven't looked at them, I'll be honest, but do any of the books deal with what we've been talking about
Oh
today?
yeah.
Someone could read? Okay.
Yeah. My first book is called Easy Stress Solutions: How to
Okay.
Meditate Like a Master, Banish Anxiety, and Kick Depression to the Curb.
Oh, okay.
Um, that was my first book. And I talk about I talk about some of my traumas. I don't talk about them for people who feel sorry for me, because I don't feel sorry for me. Why would anybody else? I don't feel sorry. I look at my traumas as opportunities that I've had to stand up, to do what Lincoln said. Okay, so I fell, so something kicked me down. I'm going to stand. So that first book talks about some of my traumas, but it talks more about solutions, because again, we're all going to have traumas, but the solution, that's where we need to focus. All have trauma. Let's focus on the solution. And I tell people flat out, my two best tools: exercise and meditation. That's what works for me. And I have a feeling if it works for me, it would work for other people too.
An exercise and meditative session a day will keep the doctor away.
There you go. There you go.
Therapist and the counselor.
There you go. That's what I really think.
Yeah.
Truly.
Shanna, this has been awesome having you on the podcast. And I'm lucky that you're right here in Tulsa, my backyard. So we'll get to see each other again and talk more. But before we wrap this up, there's been a ton of good stuff that you have said. Is there anything else that you would like to say for the good of the order before we start to wrap up here?
Yeah, I think that people have to remember to trust themselves. If they're trust that still small voice inside you, that could be, maybe it's the voice of your grandma or the voice of your mama, or it's the voice of divinity. That's how I choose to see it. But trust yourself. If your inner says, no, that's not okay for me, or if your inner, leads you, trust yourself, trust your body, trust yourself, trust your connections, and then go make more. Connect with good people. What is that quote about? If you fly with the turkeys or eagles, something, come on, connect with good people, connect with people that lift you up. Yeah. Balcony friends, not basement friends. If the people around you are pulling you down, get new people.
Yeah, I think I heard once, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. I heard that somewhere.
That's not
motivational talk somewhere, but gosh, if I could sum up everything today, just a couple of words: choose life, choose love, and be tied to the solution. No doctor, no diagnosis, no disease to find you. You get to define you and who you are.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's it. Absolutely.
Yeah, Shanna, this has been an awesome. I got bigger goosebumps now than when we started this podcast today. So again, if you're listening now, definitely appreciate you being here. The Be Well, Be Safe, Be Happy, Eat Ice Cream podcast would not exist without you, the listener. So I appreciate you very much. As I always ask, please do me a solid favor and share this podcast with anyone that you think might benefit from it. And wherever you listen to your podcast, hit that review button and leave me a 5-star review. I would definitely appreciate that. Shanna, it's been a true pleasure. Thank you so much again. And as I always like to say, this is Coach Brad. Until next time, be well, be safe, be happy, eat ice cream. Take care, everyone. Thank you. We'll see you next time.